A new report surfaced this week detailing Iran's secret war against the state of Israel using cutting-edge cyber tools. We're going to get into that, along with Israel begins a new stage in their war in Gaza. I'm Ben, and this is the Israel Guys. This is a video of a soldier returning home from Gaza, seeing his grandmother for the first time after being gone for over a month. Welcome back to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of Jew hatred and anti-Israel propaganda, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, right now we have a huge raffle going on. We are giving away a ton of merch, and all you have to do to enter the raffle is to sign up for our email list. You can click the link down in the description below. We'll be picking the winner at the end of the month, and we're giving away all these products right here on the screen right now. Don't miss this opportunity. Go to theisraelguys.com/raffle or click the link down in the description below. This video is of the Givati Brigade in action as they operate in the Al-Qatsiyah compound, one of the main bases where Hamas terrorists trained for October 7th. This is according to the IDF's Twitter page, with models simulating the entrance gates of Israeli kibbutzim, military bases, and IDF armored vehicles. The base also contained the offices of the senior Hamas leader, Mohammed Sinwar, and rocket storage facilities and tunnel shafts leading to underground tunnel routes. All that was directly from the IDF's Twitter page. On a broader front, there was a new report dropped from Microsoft this week that Iran has significantly intensified its cybersecurity attacks against the state of Israel since October 7th. They report a nearly 200% increase in attacks since that date. A 30% increase, this one's really interesting, a 30% increase in disinformation consumption in English-speaking countries distributed by Iran. That's a really interesting point right there. Thankfully, there doesn't seem like there's any evidence that there was cyber coordination between Hamas and Iran on October 7th. The report goes on to say that Iran aims to exacerbate political and social divisions inside of Israel. And I could only imagine with the disinformation campaign also probably inside the United States and other Western countries as well, trying to focus attention on Israel's government's handling of the hostages and ceasefire agreements, because those could potentially be a huge division point inside of Israel. There's already been, protests inside of Israel of Israelis wanting to end the war at all costs, to bring back the hostages. Kind of it's a very small percentage of Israelis, but it's kind of a very short-sighted view of things. But it seems like Iran is putting a lot of effort into trying to exacerbate that tension and actually create some of that whole cloth. They disrupted a news broadcast and replaced it with a fake broadcast created by AI that people thought was real for a little while. It's just one of the ways that Iran is using their power to influence the world. We have all the military fronts in Hezbollah and Hamas and Iraq and the Houthis, and the list goes on. But they're also becoming very bold on the cyber front. But Israel is engaged with the threat. Their own cyber capability is very strong, and I know they're full-on engaged in this war with Iran on the ground, on the physical side, and also on the technological side. And Israel's been not lacked for boldness in this fight so far, and taking the fight. Israel's hasn't admitted to a whole lot on the cyber front with what they've done in Iran, but there's a lot of evidence to point to. Israel has committed massive devastation on the Iranian nuclear program over and over again inside of Iran through the cyber front. And it's my personal opinion that Iran would have had nuclear weapons a long time ago if it hadn't been for Israel's boldness on the cyber front and keeping them from obtaining nuclear weapons over and over and over again. Israel puts out these massive cyber attacks that just sets Iran back by years in the nuclear program. That and the assassination of nuclear scientists inside of Iran. On the Gaza front, Israel's about to enter a new phase of the war, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But first, since the horrific massacre on October 7th, 2023, Thousands of families in Israel have been displaced, and 300,000 soldiers were called up to reserve duty in Gaza and the Lebanon border. Israel was not fully prepared for this crisis, and now tens of thousands of people are lacking in food, supplies, and the basic necessities of life. You, however, can help change the situation in Israel. Meir Panim, based in Israel, is the largest assistance network in the Holy Land for the needy. Since the war started more than 3 months ago, they have provided daily meals for over 6,000 soldiers and 2,000 displaced families, served 1 million more meals to soldiers and essential care packages to injured soldiers, families, and those on duty. They have equipped soldiers with crucial items like mattresses, pillows, blankets, and combat essentials, pulled off endless events to keep soldiers' spirits high, including barbecues, spa days, a wedding, relaxation tents for soldiers, in between shifts with games, lavish brunches for hundreds, and more. Today, your support is more than just physical aid. It brings a message of solidarity and hope to the people of Israel. Stand with Israel today and help us ensure that no soldier goes hungry, no displaced family feels alone, and those in distress find comfort and support. Please consider a generous financial contribution to Meir Panim today. Just click the link in the description below to find out more. Back to Israel's front in Gaza. Israel's Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu just released this video on Wednesday.
Tonight I want to speak to you about total victory. Our security and the prospects of peace in the Middle East depend on one thing: total victory over Hamas. Our soldiers are now in Khan Yunis, Hamas's main stronghold. They'll soon go into Rafah, Hamas's last bastion. They will do so, as they've done up to now, by providing the civilian population safe passage to safe zones. And they'll do so in spite of Hamas's evil attempts to stop the civilians from leaving at gunpoint. Total victory over Hamas will not take years. It will take months. Victory is within reach.
So in this video, Bibi is confirming that they're wrapping up operations in Khan Yunis. Finally, this has been in operation for a very, very long time, fighting in the tunnels underneath Khan Yunis. They're wrapping up there, and they will be conducting operations into Rafah. Rafah is a stronghold, Hamas stronghold, in the very southern tip of Gaza. Israel started their invasion in the north and have been sweeping their way south slowly, taking their time, trying to avoid casualties in their own army and protect civilians inside of Gaza, methodically working their way above ground and below ground from the north down to the south. Now they're wrapping up in Khan Yunis and will be moving into Rafah. There's been a lot of speculation as to whether Israel will stop short of Rafah or take it all the way through, because it is an impregnable stronghold like Khan Yunis, and maybe even worse than that. Rafah is a terrible place for the army to try to take. And Gazan civilians have been moving further and further south, and so there's a lot of Gazan civilians inside of Rafah, and also the rest of Hamas is holed up in tunnels underneath there as well. Israel has wiped out over half of Hamas's fighting force so far, and have taken out an enormous amount of quote-unquote impregnable infrastructure that no one thought that they would be able to take out. And as a reminder, Hamas could guarantee, they knew for sure, that Israel would not invade Gaza and take out these tunnels. They were sure of that. Otherwise, October 7th would not have happened. Their tunnels, to them, were an impregnable fortress. They figured that if Israel did retaliate strongly, it would be bombs. They would bomb, infrastructure above ground, which would hurt civilians in Gaza to a certain extent, but not necessarily Hamas so much, because they've spent years and years and years building this impregnable underground fortress that stretches for tens of miles underneath Gaza and is, 50, 60, 100, 150 feet underground. And the defenses that they put in place for these tunnels are just unimaginable. But yet somehow the IDF has done it. Somehow in a couple of months, they started north and have worked their way south and have eliminated over half of Hamas's fighting force and taken out a huge portion of this infrastructure, this impregnable infrastructure, all the while with very low casualty count inside of the IDF and very low casualty count in Gazan civilians. This is numbers unheard of anywhere else in the world for a war like this. Israel's lost, I think, 260 soldiers and taken out over half of Hamas's fighting force, eliminated 20-something thousand Hamas killed, captured, wounded. That is insane. 20-something thousand of Hamas terrorists to 260 IDF. Also, there's been about a 2-to-1 ratio between Gazan civilians killed and Hamas terrorists killed, which is also insane. You never see that in any other wars. Like that was unheard of numbers in Afghanistan or Iraq or other, Vietnam wars like that, where you have, Western power fighting a terrorist state. Like, these numbers don't happen without God. I really don't think they do. I don't think they happen without God. I do believe the God of Israel is fighting for Israel in this war, and will see the state of Israel through in destroying and eradicating this evil, this evil of Hamas from the face of the earth. This Amalek, really, this is kind of like the ancient fight between Israel and Amalek that you see in the scriptures, of Amalek attacking the weak of Israel when they're going through the desert, coming on them from behind and attacking the weak, the stragglers from behind. This is really what Hamas did. Just an evil that we can't even fathom here in the United States. But Bibi did stress, of course, because he has to, that the IDF will adhere to international law when they go into Rafah, and they will ensure safe passage for civilian populations outside of the combat zone. But that didn't stop the United States from virtue signaling. Of course, Secretary of State Antony Blinken said, and this was at a press conference in Tel Aviv. He's in Tel Aviv right now. Any military campaign, military operation that Israel undertakes needs to put civilians first and foremost in mind, said Blinken at a press conference in Tel Aviv. This is especially true in the case of Rafah, where there are somewhere between 1.2 to 1.4 million people, many of them displaced from other parts of Gaza. Apparently, he warned Bibi that the White House is very concerned about the looming expansion of the IDF operation into Gaza. Of course they are. Of course they are. The U.S. is always concerned when Israel takes on the destruction of evil, because in the West, that makes us uneasy to see evil destroyed from the face of the earth, because we have lost all sense of moral clarity. Many in Gaza have not. This video surfaced this week of refugees in Gaza moving. Israel's distributing supplies to these refugees, something that UNRWA is not doing very well. And they had this conversation with a Gazan. In this translation from the description, he says, Hania eats in a restaurant in Turkey, Sinwar eats steaks underground, and we eat bullets in the head. Don't leave us. He's begging Israel to stay. Don't forget to check out the amazing work of Meir Panim. The link is down in the description below. Don't forget to subscribe, get the conversation going down below in the comments. I love engaging with you there. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them there as well. As always, tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We'll be back every day, Monday through Friday, with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.